Good evening, NorCal Carters. This is Jason, and tonight we have a special guest, Steve Cameron. Steve, say hello.
Hello, Jason. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm like really excited. We finally get to sit down and chat and recap the 2021 karting season at Sonoma and talk about 2022. We'll go into the schedule that we have and let's get to it.
All right.
All right. So again, everyone, this is Steve Cameron. He is the one that runs Rock Sonoma, presented by Sanzru Games, out there at the Sonoma kart track. And the past few years have been pretty interesting for Rock Sonoma, I think. I mean, it's been obviously COVID in 2020 kind of left a lot of people all over the place. But 2021, I thought it was a very fun season. What about you?
Yeah, I think that we were after 2020. You just don't know what's going to happen. We were always fearful that things were going to come back, that we were going to have problems again. But to be honest, we had, I think, very good growth. We worked with Andy Seisman there and Challenge Americas, and so he brought a lot to the track. Obviously, we had the Rockfest come in for the event there. So there was a lot of, I think, synergy between the different rock championships around the country. We had a lot of new drivers in this year. There was question marks, like always, as to what's going to happen. What's the growth look like? What's things look like in the future? But ultimately, we had great racing, great championships. So, moving forward to next year, I think we've got a great foundation to work with.
Yeah, it's been fun being up there and just seeing the progression. Let's highlight 2021. Let's talk about some of the good things that happened. I know your group is really pushing to figure out how to bring more value to the racer out there. And
right.
Midway through the year, you started doing the live YouTube feeds.
Yeah, so that was something that we decided. What do we had some sponsored dollars, and we tried to decide what's the best way to spend that money. Do we give everybody some prize money? And ultimately, prize money is great, but as always, just a few get that and benefit from it. So we thought, let's take that money. What can we do to get the sport exposed to a greater audience, get the racers exposed? So we came up with the plan to do these live video broadcasts, and it seemed it was a huge success. Obviously, you got to be a part of that, develop your commentary skills and live commentary. And it was a work in progress. We were, I think, the first race was fairly small audience, but by the time we were done at the last race, we had a huge following. Even for me, from a personal standpoint, my mother, my daughter, my brother, they're all in New Zealand watching the race live. I had other team owners and drivers talking about family and friends around the world watching the broadcast live. So that was I think, brought a lot of promotion to the series. It's something that the drivers can take. They can take those videos. They can show them their friends, their families. Use that to try and generate interest to keep their careers growing, to keep excitement, in their racing career.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with the is a work in progress. To start, I didn't have any broadcasting skills, and man, I remember the first episode. I'm sitting there, it's like, what do I even do? You always hear, the good announcers. If you're talking about karting, Rob Howden's definitely, that's kind of the guy everyone looks to at announcing. And after that first day, I'm sitting there and was like, man, they make it look really easy. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I think the comment from the group watching yours was, you got to get more animated. So that's what you did.
Yes. Yeah, and a couple of my friends, they came up to me and say, hey, we want the Jason Berry that we know.
Right.
Not the one we hear on the announcing is like, yeah, but I don't want to get fired after the first weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my favorite kind of stories that just pops out, and I mentioned it on the live broadcast at the last race, was Case and Hodge, and he came up to me at a different track and says, you know what, I want to race Sonoma. And I go, why? And he goes, because I want to be on YouTube. And he showed up at that last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. I mean, I think it's working, right? It's bringing drivers in. People want to, no matter what. I think, and we, funny as it may sound, but people like to watch themselves on whether it's TV or computers, YouTube, whatever it may be. It's fun to be able to send those videos to your friends, to your family. It's fun to watch yourself. And, I mean, I think Jason was like the perfect promoter of what doing these videos does. It brings people to the series, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and Jason, so for those that don't know, the guy actually behind all the video stuff, his name is Jason, not me. That guy just put in so much effort and so much, kind of heart and soul, because he really wanted it to be the best he could do with the means necessary or that he had. And watching how much effort he put in the progression, it's just from the first one to the last one. I almost want to kind of do a side by side.
Yeah, and obviously, Case and Hodge went from that race where he promoted himself, went to Vegas, and did just an amazing job there. Was on the podium. I was standing next to his dad during the race, and he was biting his nails. He was screaming. He was turning. He was walking away. So it was actually, I wish we were doing a live feed of not just the guys on the track, but sometimes the parents in the pits, because he was, extremely animated watching that race. But he did an awesome job, and it was great to see him represent NorCal there at the race in Vegas.
Yeah, and and that's one thing I did want to mention, and I'm glad you hinted on it. I was very happy to see when I got home, you guys were doing, when I say you guys, Sanzru, the series that you're running, you were highlighting a bunch of different drivers at the Rock Vegas event. And I thought that was just really cool to see. And then I think it was today or yesterday, you guys had another posting online of, hey, these are the guys that were down in Vegas. And I don't know. Like you already said, racers like to see themselves, and it almost doesn't matter if they're racing your series. We all know that's their home track. Why not give them love when they're running a different series?
Yeah, so we actually set up a photographer to go down there. James Kim went to Vegas. We worked with Garrett there at Rock, and they allowed him to gave him full access to the track, full photo credentials. So he was able to go out there, and basically we wanted him to promote all the Rock Sonoma drivers that were at Vegas. So he took photos. We posted them on Instagram. I think some of those photos are available on his website, which I believe is apexphotos.com. Yeah. So, well, Jason knows that. So, we wanted to add more value to the guys that made the trip down there. So, and again, he's put some postings out there that featured our drivers. And as I say, Rock Cup was very, very receptive to promoting all the regional series. And the fact that we sent a photographer down there, they accommodated him. They helped us promote that. So, again, I think there's a great relationship there.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to not be so, I guess, protective about your own drivers and your own teams, and again, being able to say, hey, yeah, they went over there and they won, or they were on the podium, they did this at a national event, and hey, their home series is Rock Sonoma. So no, good job on that. I started seeing the post come out from James. I was like, all right, they're highlighting, their drivers, their participants.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and we got good results. I mean, I think the knockout drivers represented themselves extremely well there at Vegas. Obviously, there's some Hunter Pickett and some of the guys there that are, we know that they can go there and run up front, and they did. So it was nice to be able to see those guys, see them run up front with all the guys from around the country. So I think that one of the things we're trying to show is that the competition level here at Rock Sonoma is strong. That if you want to, if you live in this area, you're in the NorCal area, and you want to race against guys that can win at a national level, then come to our race, because that's what we have to offer.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case, because you just look at the names at your series, and then you can just almost transpose them right to the national stuff.
Exactly.
And even at that last race, the last weekend, I mean, let's just say it. It was kind of a screwed up weekend for everybody. I know you were doing a lot of adjustments on the fly, trying to keep the teams happy and trying to beat the weather, and but that's racing, right? You don't know what's in store, and you got to adapt as quick as you can. And
yes,
I mean, you had Jacob Gulick came in, and everybody, please, I apologize. I'm a shifter guy, so if I rattle off shifter guy names off the top of my head, then that's why. It's I'm getting better at it though. But you had the Wicks come down for a couple of events. You had the Gulicks come down, and that brings credit to your series. Like, yeah, they're drawing in big names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was a tough weekend that last weekend. So, with the weather and the call to try and have all the races, one of the things was obviously one of the things that we offer is a ticket to Vegas if you one of our championship winners. So we basically had to get the weekend closed out, and we had to be able to get our championships set. So, if we got rained out on Sunday, we couldn't postpone. We basically had to make it happen. So I can tell you, when we made the decision to run both races on Saturday, both championship events on Saturday, I woke up about 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, and it was pouring down with rain. I was like, oh, my God, thank God it's raining, because I was so worried that it was going to be a beautiful day, and we made a bad call. So, yeah,
but, I mean, you also you have so many roles at the track. Yeah, you're the promoter. Your son Christian races. You have the teams coming to you saying, hey, we want to do this or we want to do that. And that's been the fun part for me this year. It's like, yes, I love announcing and running my mouth. That part's fun, but also seeing all the behind the scenes work that's going on and how much stuff goes on. I mean, you're sitting there trying to keep everybody in the pit happy. You have teams running up to you say, hey, dude, you got to do something about this weather. And it's like, you're probably thinking, hey, I'm a race promoter, not a god or a Zeus or whatever to change weather. And the teams are going, yeah, we don't want to lose our tents because it was supposed to be windy. And then for those who don't know, Sonoma gets 2 or 3 streams that run across the track. Like, the whole facility could be dry except for those 2 or 3 streams that pour across the straightaways and go all the way to the bottom of the hill. And your racers, they don't mind racing in the rain, but 2 weeks before the biggest race of the year, no one wants their equipment tore up. They don't want their tents ruined. So how is that to navigate?
Yeah, I think that honestly, that when we made that decision, that was the primary decision. It wasn't really about whether we could run in the rain or not. It was about how it was going to impact the teams. And we have big teams, Ron White Racing, Gary Carlton, Nick LeDuc, all the teams that Speed Sense, those guys not just support our series, but they've got they're getting ready for Vegas. They do California Rock Championship, everything else. So their biggest concern was that if something came in and hurt their equipment, delayed them from being able to be ready to go to Rock Vegas, that was going to be a big impact to them, not just from an inconvenience, but financially it hurts them. So the decision we made was probably more based on making sure we would support the teams who support us versus whether we could run in the rain. And that's really what precipitated the decisions we made. And we, like anything, as a promoter, to me, the most important thing is getting teams that want to be at our series, and anything we can do to support the teams, get the teams to come, that's the most important thing. So from my standpoint, the teams support us, and in return, we need to support the teams.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the clarity and the transparency on that, because it's tough to navigate. And for those that don't know, your last race of the season, the past couple of years, worked out where it's 2 or 3 weeks before Rock Vegas, which is the biggest race for a rock competitor. And a lot of guys don't realize, just because the calendar says that race is 2 weeks away, a lot of these teams, they're leaving a week in advance to get down there. It takes them 2 or 3 days to get their pits set up. A lot of times they're building new carts for the event. There's so much work going on in between each event that it's not like, oh, you have 2 full weeks. It's like, I know a few people that had 5 days to turn around from your event to get on the road for Vegas.
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, in previous years, one of the things that we've always done, and everybody's well aware of it, the track configuration we use on that last race is really determined by what's going to be the easiest on the chassis, because nobody wants to, and as everybody knows, tic-tac-toe has been the, let's say the most difficult series of turns at Sonoma. People hurt the ribs, you lose chains, it's hard on chassis. And so we've never run that on the last race. We've always run the pro circuit or a sprint circuit and tried to avoid that. So going into that last race, there's always a lot of emphasis on what can we do to help support the guys that are going to Vegas. And since we're talking about that, they and everybody has been wondering, why is the track not open? Why aren't we testing this month? Well, they cut the track up a few days ago. They have removed tic-tac-toe. We have a whole new series of corners in there right now. I think on the 27th of this month, the track will open for testing, and people will be able to drive the new version of tic-tac-toe, which is essentially what we ran, I think, race 7 when we brought in the barriers and kind of created a tighter section of tic-tac-toe. And now that's been replaced with curbs. It's there, it's done, and it's exciting. It's going to be, it creates a whole new set of corners for the track. It allows us to run 4 to 5, maybe actually 6 different configurations now, and hopefully minimize the fear of what happened when you had the straight line tic-tac-toe to go pick up that extra for 3 or 4 tenths.
Yeah. So what has been the honest feedback with the decision to remove tic-tac-toe that you've heard as the promoter?
Well, my biggest complaint has come from Christian, my son, because he loves tic-tac-toe. He wants a straight line tic-tac-toe. It doesn't matter. He said, I love tic-tac-toe. That's my advantage. I can straighten it. But the reality is, I think when it was first designed, nobody really anticipated that people could straight line it. And then over the years, as the curbs have moved, basically the curbs have sunk, the track's changed, and it's just become very, very difficult. When the number of guys that lose chains there, the damage it does to the chassis, let alone how many guys have hurt their ribs or whatever, I think that it just had to change. And there's people who who love tic-tac-toe, and it is fun to drive. And when you get it right, it's extremely rewarding to be able to flick that thing through there and make up a little bit of time. But I think what we've added now, or what the track has added now, it's more technical than it was, and ultimately it adds a passing zone, because as you go through because now it's tight. When you come off there, as you come into the last corner maker, that creates a whole new passing zone. So I think it actually makes it a better racetrack.
Nice. Yeah, it's I like the layout when you guys put the temporary barriers out there. I mean, it's hard to tell with barriers up, because things race differently when you have a barrier versus a curb. But I was looking, I was like, man, this is going to be interesting. But removing tic-tac-toe from Sonoma, I mean, it's kind of like cutting the corkscrew out of Laguna. It's such an iconic.
Well, it's still there. It hasn't really been removed. It's just been modified. Let's put it that way, right? So
yeah, it's just such a iconic section of from a kart track in America. Like it's just known everywhere. Is tic-tac-toe.
Right. But again, from my standpoint, we were losing. I believe we were losing races, because there's a lot of people that simply would not come if we're running tic-tac-toe. And bottom line, we're still a regional series. We're essentially a series that wants amateur racers to be there, guys that want to come and enjoy it, have fun. We're not a pro series. We're not trying to be, a national series. So I looked at it from a standpoint that what's going to bring more people here and give them enjoyment in driving, and not have them feel like, they're going to beat up their car or hurt themselves or whatever. So that was really, I think, the most important thing, is that I believe we had more people saying that they wouldn't come to the track if we ran that configuration than people that would come if we did. So I think ultimately, if we get 10 more guys every weekend, then it's well worth it.
Yeah. And you're right, because I buy and sell karting equipment as my, kind of my main hustle. And I do ask people, did you race this kart at Sonoma? Because like you said, tic-tac-toe, if you hit it properly, it's very rewarding. And but to learn how to hit it properly, you're probably going to tear up some equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so I can attest to that. I'll let you know a little secret. I have had back surgery, and it's because of tic-tac-toe. So I was a few years ago getting ready for the Super Nats, built a new kart, sticky tires back then, ICC Pro engines. I thought I'd go out, just warm up the chassis, and everything felt good. And I thought, I'll just run a few hard laps. Well, that was a mistake, and I went through tic-tac-toe, got sideways in the air, came down, landed, and basically ruptured my back and had surgery. So I can tell you that as much as I love tic-tac-toe, it has consequences. So.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. But so they're changing that around. That'll be exciting. And,
I think it'll be great.
Been there, 20 years now, so it is nice to kind of change things up after 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll see. Like I said, I believe it's open on the 27th. Hopefully we'll get a lot of people out there running it, and I'm sure that, I'll hear from Ron White whether it's good or bad.
The unfiltered opinion of Ron White.
The unfiltered opinion, yes, correct.
But I mean, he does bring you a lot of guys out there, so it's.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, when you talk about working with teams, with Ron and Gary and the guys there, Nick, they're all very passionate about it. They all want it to be successful, and they contribute a lot. I mean, Ron, to be honest, has done an amazing job of building a large customer base purely based around our series. So I think he's realized that you can take a series like ours, and that's got a race every month. It's got testing, it's got good competition, and he's built his business model around supporting that series. And he's not traveling very much. It works well. So somebody like Ron, I value his opinion. When he's got some feedback, I listen and I try to make it work and make it better, because he's been a huge part of growing the series.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with that. I mean, he just bought a semi.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it's good to see. And then you have, probably, I mean, it's easy to say, his biggest rival out there is probably Gary Carlton with his team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done a good job, growing the team. But, again, a home track for Gary Carlton, NorCal boy. You have, Robin Illuminos, who's been up at the track for many years. Yep. And you mentioned Nick LeDuc.
Nick LeDuc and Speed Sense, they're all guys who support the series, all teams that support the series.
Yeah. And then, hey, well, since we're talking about people that support the series, let's jump into your 2021 sponsors for the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can read them down the list, and then you can give us some feedback or some input into that company. Is that how you want to handle it?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So you are the Northern California representation for Rock Cup USA.
Mm-hmm.
So rockcupusa.com. They are the main series, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they support. Rock Cup USA is a big supporter of the series, both financially. They also then obviously offer the Vegas tickets. They work to bring Andy and Challenge America series, so they are probably the most important sponsor we have, because it's so broad range what they do and how they support us.
Yeah, and they're also the engine supplier.
Exactly.
And that's going to be actually one of my series of podcasts, because I get that question a lot, where people say, "Oh, well, what's going on in karting?" And a friend of mine, he's been around karting as long as I have. I've just been full time, and he's been in and out. And he's like, "Oh, what's rock?" And it's like, you know what? I really need to do that podcast. Like, what is rock, and what are the other series out there, so people have an understanding that, the Vortex Rock. I mean, it covers ages from. You go down to age 7. Is that how young you go at Sonoma?
No, we'll actually start them. I believe, if you've got some experience, you can get into a micro at 6.
Micro at 6, so 6 years old up to 80, or however.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we've got 80-year-olds running.
Yep. So that's your Vortex Rock, and again, rockcupusa.com. And this next sponsor, I always get the most questions about, and I can't answer it. I'm not tied into the series in that way. Sanzru Games, and I mean, your website is sanzarukarting.com. That's the website. So tell us, how does a video game company get involved with your series and Rock Sonoma?
So the principal of Sanzru Games was Glenn Egan, and Glenn Egan has been around karting for a lot of years. He raced himself. He raced back when we were a Rotax series. So he stopped racing, but he stayed involved in the series. So Glenn has been there basically every year that we've run the series. He is actually now, and we'll see. We're hoping to announce this shortly, but he's actually. He sold the company, or at least the company is changing, and we're in the process of working with Glenn and Sanzru to start a new charity foundation, and I believe that, and I'm meeting with Glenn next week, so it's hard to say too much about what the plans are, but I believe we have something pretty exciting that may develop through this, where Glenn is working on a nonprofit foundation that he'll work to bring in, we hope, other sponsors and people who can work through that nonprofit. And what we're looking to do is try to then build ways to financially support, reduce costs, and make it easy for a lot of new people, especially kids, to make the transition into karting and to offset what it takes to participate. So that's what's in the works with Glenn and Sanzru for 22. Not a lot that we can sort of confirm on it, but the potential, I think, is extremely strong to be able to do something pretty special here.
So a non-profit, isn't that pretty much a kart shop?
Yes, racing in general, right? Yeah.
that actually, I'm excited to see what develops with that one. That's it. That's an interesting.
Well, again, it's like anything. It's if we can use that as a platform to help offset the costs for kids to get into racing, then that's the goal.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep my attention on that one, because that just falls right into my NorCal Karters. Let's promote karting. Let's do it.
Exactly.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Let's see. So that's Sanzru Games, and again, that they have been your headline sponsor for years for Sanzru Karting, Rock Sonoma. Fantastic. And then next we have Sunoco Race Fuels.
So Sunoco obviously comes as part of the package with Rock, and we switched to them 2 years ago, I believe. So they've been amazing, because, as you know, with the economy right now, with costs and things like that, fuel prices have gone through the roof. So Sunoco this year, they held their pricing for us. We had a very, very small increase at the last event due to their increased cost. But I would say that the biggest thing they bring is consistency in the fuel, and the fact that they were there to support us when their profit margins went down with the increase in costs due to the economy. They held to the program that we had agreed to and stuck with their pricing, and so I can't thank them enough for that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, as a promoter that you have to deal with, because I could just imagine now, July rolls around, the gas price goes up, and then you have to tell your racers, oh, we have to raise the entry fee, or we have to do this, we have to do that. I can't imagine. Well, actually, I probably could. The feedback you'd get from people about that.
Yeah, that's a tough deal, and prices do go up. So we had to make a couple of small adjustments during the year, but again, we've tried really, really hard, and to be honest, I think if you go back and look at what we were charging for entry fees and what have you 7 years ago, I think we're within $20 of that still. I mean, it's just we've tried hard to find other ways to fund the series and not just take money out of the races. Yeah,
it's. Bottom line is, racing of anything is expensive, but anywhere you can offset that expense and take it off the racers' hands, that's probably one of the biggest complaints or gripes you hear from racers in general. Oh, it's just so expensive. It's like, well, yeah, no one said it was a cheap hobby.
No.
I mean, karting, I tell people it's cheap racing.
Yeah. Well, and again, and we run, as my primary business is a race team. We run an IMSA team, an SRO team. So, I look at what karting costs, and I go, oh my gosh, it's so cost effective compared to anything else that we do. I mean, to give you an example, a set of tires we run a GT4, BMW GT4. A set of tires is $2,600, and we use a minimum of 3 sets a day, just on a test day with that thing. So, that's pretty much close to a season for a lot of people in karting. So, karting is expensive, but the bang for the buck, the amount of skill level, the quality of racing, there's nothing that beats it. Nothing.
Yeah, and that's going to put me on my soapbox for just a moment, and if I'm too long, push me off of it. But for years, I've always heard this comparison of karting and, for example, Spec Miata, and it's always just drove me nuts when somebody is racing karting at a competitive regional or national level, and then they decide to leave karting because it's quote unquote too expensive, and they go off and they do Mazda Miata. And I'm not knocking the Miata stuff. I looked at it. This is not a knock on Miata, but they go look at the Mazda Spec Miata class, and all they do is go to Thunderhill or Sonoma, and they talk about, oh, how cheap Mazda is, how cheap the Miata is to race. And it's like, wait a second. You just left a competitive regional or national level karting program to compare it to club racing Miata. And I would like to see people do a comparison of, what is the Spec Miata Pro class called?
MX5 Cup.
The MX5 Cup. I want to see someone do a cost comparison of racing a regional or national karting program against MX5 Cup. Because in my opinion, it's like, okay, you're comparing national karting ability to club racing Miata. Let's compare it to national level. So that's it for my soapbox.
Yeah, and obviously I run a race team, so we have a lot of kids go through the karting. I've had a lot of people that we've taken and put into race programs. The reality is, whether it's karting or car racing, it's not really the cost of the equipment, the car, the engine, or whatever. What costs you a lot of money as you start to develop and move into the bigger series is travel. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing karting or MX5 Cup. What costs you the money is flights, hotels, people, travel, hotels, meals. And so I think one of the big things for us, if we can develop and I call it a regional series that is strong, that doesn't there's not a lot of travel, where there's really good competition. There's, like I say, with Sonoma, it's great. We have our 8 or 9 events. We can run almost a different configuration every weekend. If we can do that and keep the costs down, and people can come to that race and have the competition they need, then that's the goal. You start to look at, the minute you go to Vegas, the minute you travel to the Florida tour or whatever, your costs just escalate. It's unbelievable how much more it costs. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a GT4, a GTP, a Mazda Miata. Once you start traveling, you have to be prepared to spend a lot more money on your travel than you do on your racing. And it sort of goes back to that business model we talked about with Ron White. I think he fully understands that if he can develop a customer group that want to race, they can race here once a month. They're not traveling. His costs are low. Their costs are low. That ultimately can build a really strong series. So I think for us, if we can focus on providing a competition level and enough reward for the guys that race here for a budget that's 50% of what it costs from doing a travel race, then that ultimately is what we're trying to build.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to give away Ron's secrets too much, because he is doing such a great job growing his business, keeping his business stable, and staying local. It's good to see it, and well, I wish there were more shops out there doing that, because we have a lot of talent in Northern California, and we have so many tracks, we have a lot of competing series, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of our talent that they travel out of Northern California on a regular basis. It's like, wait a second. You could focus. Well, I think you could focus on NorCal, and we would have some pretty deep fields.
And I think Ron doesn't mind me giving away those secrets, because I think he understands that if we can get the teams and guys like Gary, Nick, Illuminos, all those teams to actually do the same thing, then that's good for Ron. It's good for all those teams, because if they bring their drivers to our events, then it's self-fulfilling, because they're going to get more. So the more people that sort of commit to that idea that Let's try and build a strong customer base here regionally. It improves their business model. It gives the guys better racing. That's good for everybody. So I think Ron is a big promoter, not just worrying about what his customer base is, but actually seeing value in helping the other guys build something on a similar model.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a little bit segued a little bit, but that's my fault because I got on the soapbox. But can we take a moment? I want to round out with the sponsors, but can we take a moment and I'm going to put you on the spot. Rocks, and this is not a direct attack or anything else on the series up there. I think it's more of a industry karting issue. But your rock shifter program at Sonoma is fantastic. The senior shifters that show up, they give us a great race every race in and race out. They're always fun to watch. There's always a solid group of guys, and if you look at the guys that are top, the top 5, you will see their names on a regular basis at national events at the top. And then you have that limited 125 shifter class that has exploded. The shifter stuff at Sonoma, to me, is just, why do you need to travel? I mean, you're bringing in a lot of drivers for the shifter stuff. What are the plans for 2022 for the younger classes, the minis, the micros, and the juniors at Sonoma? Because we need more entries in those classes to keep the talent in NorCal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing. I mean, everybody asks the same question. What do we do to get more minis, more micros? Because obviously mini and micros are super important because they're the feeder into the junior series. I mean, part of the problem is, as everybody knows, you've got the whole split between rock and supercart, whether it's supercart and or I guess that's not the right word for them now, but SCUSA, where you've got Army and rock. And so we've got a lot of tracks here locally that support the Army product. We support the rock. I mean, obviously, we were hoping that there would be some sort of blend between being able to run KAs and rocks together, come up with the weight adjustment. But it just seems that, as in karting for all these years, it's so difficult to get everybody on the same page. So there's not a lot I can do to change that. I think all we can try to do is find a way to offer the best value for the kids that want to come and run micro, mini, junior 100. It seems it's a little bit watered down. Part of the problem is there's also a lot of classes, because if you're in junior, you can run junior 100, you can junior 125. If you're in senior, you've got the 100, the 125, the GP motors. So part of it is there's a lot of classes and you water them down. I don't know that there's a lot we can do to change that. We're still, obviously the question everybody asks is, are KAs going to be allowed to run in junior, senior, and masters next year? I don't have an answer for that yet. I would like to see that happen, because I think there's a lot of KA drivers out there in our area that would like to run Sonoma. So I'm a supporter of trying to find a way to make that happen. I think, as I said, if I can work with and develop the program with Sanzru, well, we can find ways to offset the cost to get people to come to our series. That's probably one of the main things we can do to help get people to come in and the juniors come into our series, is if we can essentially offset the cost of being here so they can come for a lower cost and know that the competition level's there, then that would probably be my primary focus, is what can I do to make it easy to come here. Perfect.
Yeah, because that's a big talking point out there. It's like when people, I mean, we all do it. You're a racer, I'm a racer. The team managers out there, they're all racers, and we all do the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to go, for example, I was doing some Thunder Hill stuff a couple months ago in the cart. First thing I did is I went online when I registered to look at the entry list. It's like, well, who's going to be there? Am I going to be the only guy? And at the end of the day, it turned out to be a great event. And I know you understand that, because at the heart of it, you're a racer.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's going to help our series next year, as far as our events, because we have some of the other bigger events coming. Andy's coming back with some races. That always helps us because people want to come and race our races and to prep for Andy's. So I think that gets, when we've had the weekends where we run our event the week before Andy, then we do get all the fast kids from LA, the fast kids, you get the Chase Hands, Stephen Isarts, and those guys all coming into our events. So if we can keep getting those guys to come and race at our series, because they're looking to gain experience on the track, so that when Challenge in Americas and those series come here, I also think that, again, I can't sort of, we're working on it, but later in the year, I believe that we'll be able to announce something that's going to be pretty exciting as far as how we structure what we're going to do with our series, with Rockfest. I think there's a big push from Rock Cup USA to really build strength here on the West Coast, and part of that is working with them to find a way to promote our series and our regional series in such a way that they, instead of them spending a lot of effort to put on an event or promote an event, spend a lot of money, that maybe would be better spent to invest in the series here. I believe that that's something that's on the table, and that might really, really do a lot to build those classes.
Nice. So you have a lot of exciting news coming up here in the next month or so.
Yeah, work on that in the spare time, yeah.
Just add another business to your plate. All right, so let's get back to our sponsors. So we talked about Sunoco, then I side railed you. Is that even a word? Side rail? I don't know. Derailed.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then we'll go to the lubricant, Redline synthetic oil. Now, to me, this one's very interesting. I've always associated Redline with Sonoma ever since the kart track opened, but jump into that one because it's a different oil, but Redline's a sponsor.
So obviously we run Motul as our oil now. That's changed again with Rock signing a different oil product. So Redline really is more an associate with, through our race team. We promote our race program, and then they promote our series, our track. They've been a supporter of us for, many, many years. And in fact, Cameron Evans, who was the head of Redline, raced in our series, won some races. So he's always been a huge proponent of karting. So I think Redline, even though we're not necessarily using their product in the karts, they support the racing side of it. They support kart racing. They want to see people stay in this series. They want to see them, the kids that have talent, they want to see those guys move up through the ladder. And it's really as simple as that. They are just really a company who supports racing.
I love it. Yeah, because that one's, all year. I've never asked you about it, but all year long, that one's kind of puzzled me. So I'd love to see that they're still involved, and that's great. And then Jim Kidd just chimed in. He says, use it in the gearbox, because Redline they do have gearbox oil products.
Right,
so
they're great products. We use them. Yeah, we use them on my they're a sponsor of mine on my Pro Team. We use their products in our GT4s, and like anything, we're always looking for something that's going to give us a bit of an advantage. And if I didn't believe in the product, then we wouldn't be using it.
Absolutely. And then going on from oil to, let's go to tires. Levanto tires.
So obviously Levanto again is courtesy of Rock Cup USA. I mean, I think the tire's been just amazing. I mean, obviously people were nervous about switching from Bridgestone. From my standpoint, the tire's been consistent. We haven't had any problems with it. We some of the things that we were facing at the end of last year with, some of the quality of the tires that we were getting maybe were less than desirable. Lovato came on board. The tire performs well. Our lap times are faster. It really, really rubbers up the track. So I think people are seeing that on the race weekends, we're actually getting some pretty high grip levels, and the lap times have been pretty strong. Pricing wise, they I believe that they're right in line with everybody else. They don't do anything to try and obviously they have the ability, being exclusive, to jack the price up and make it more expensive, but they don't. They've stayed, I think, well within the general pricing that everybody else is at. They're great for supply. We've never had a weekend where we've run out of tires. So from my standpoint, it's been a great transition. Obviously looking forward to continuing that relationship with them next year.
Yeah, no, that was definitely, you already
said.
And
one other.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And they're easy to mount.
They are easy to mount.
Even I can do it. Even I can do it.
Yeah, it's anytime you switch tires, that's such a big. The recreational guy probably doesn't understand it, but for the teams and the guys that are actively racing, when you switch tires, like sometimes you're taking your test book and just throwing it in the garbage can, going, "Okay, well, start over." And I think a lot of people have been pretty happy with the Levanto. My experience with it was very minimal at the beginning of the year, but last year, the previous tire that we had to use, I don't want to mention their name because maybe they'll sponsor me one day. But oh man, what a disaster!
Yeah, it definitely there was a few ruffled feathers last year with some of the some of the things that were happening with the tire, and again, who knows what really created that issue. But everybody moved forward, and I mean. I honestly don't believe I've had anybody come up to me and complain about the tire. It's one of the few parts of our program that I don't have people complaining about.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to sit there and think about it. Like, the Challenge of the Americas stuff was my first time working with it, and I can't really think of a time that we actually had a, let's say, manufacturing issue. I mean, it was a pretty stout tire.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think anything that lasts too long, so we're not selling enough tires. So it's a big problem. Yeah.
So all those points you just earned earlier in the podcast with people's like, yeah, Steve's for the racer, and you just lost them all.
Yeah.
So for 2022, a sticky tire.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and they do. I mean, they last well. They it's like all tires fall off, but it's been very consistent. So that's a good move, and that's tied in with Rock Cup USA and the Vortex program. It's the Levanto kart tire. Let's see here. Next up, World Speed Motorsports.
So World Speed, obviously, are a team at Sonoma. They promote the series there for F3 cars, F4 cars. So over the years, they've been a great supporter of talent coming out of our series. We've had a lot of drivers actually go into the World Speed program and transition into the Formula 4s, Formula 3s. They've given us tests over the years. So again, they have promoted the series, and I think more importantly, they've looked at our drivers. They have a scholarship program, and I would say that probably over half of the drivers that have received their scholarships have been karters coming out of our series.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. So that's World Speed Motorsports. And then let's see here. Brooks Motor Cars.
So Brooks Motor Cars again is related to our race team. They are a high-end body shop in Oakland, California, and they essentially support our team. Unfortunately, in race cars, you crash race cars. So when we crash our race cars, they go to Brooks Motor Cars for repair. So part of what they provide us is the fact that when we, the fact that they sponsor our race car team gives me the ability then to take some funds that we essentially save in crash repairs and use that to spend on promotion for the kart series.
Nice. Okay. And that's something we could probably, that's a good tie-in. Maybe, you know, I don't know if a lot of people really put, you know, 1 and 2 together and go, hey, again, how much do these sponsors offset my cost as a racer? Do you want to get into that, or?
You know, it varies, and I think people in karting's difficult because it's not it's not like a huge promotion. It's not like for a sponsor there's a lot of it. Just saying, you know, like I'm going to put my and I think a lot of people realize this. You know, you don't just put your name on the side of the cart and get you know, if you're spending $1,000, you don't really get $1,000 of the value. So most of the sponsors that I have in our series, I try to. It's because they're involved in a much bigger part of our program. So I try to give our sponsors value not just in the kart series, but we use them on our race team, our IMSA team, our SRO team, and those we get real dollar value as far as promotion on TV. So I'm sort of cross-pollinating our sponsors in the kart world and in the race car world, and most of the karting people probably don't realize, you know, it costs the amount of money it costs to actually put a race on at Sonoma is extremely high. It's unfortunately we're not in a situation where Dixon Davis, which are amazing tracks, are clubs, and their cost to operate is not very high. You know, when we put in our weekends, we lease the track from Speedway Corporation, so that cost is not inexpensive. You know, the ambulances, we pay our workers, everything else. So our cost to put on an event is extremely high. So we're trying not to, you would never be able to offset that cost in entry fees. So for us, it's extremely important to develop the sponsors, whether we give those sponsors value, not just in the karting, but in our race team. That's important because we can then offset our costs in the karting by giving the sponsors value, not just in karting, but also in the race team. And I would say the thing that's changed a little bit is our video productions, because the video production, as that's grown, as we've developed viewers, that may be turning things around a little bit, where now we can actually go to our sponsors and say, it's not just it's not just a feel-good thing helping the kart races. It's also some real value in promotion on these videos and the audience we're getting.
Yeah, and that's kind of behind the scenes, kind of some of the exciting stuff for next year that, you know, has already been talked about. It's like, okay, how do we bring the sponsors in? How do we get them on screen during the live broadcasts? And 2021 was definitely more of a, okay, let's see if the system's going to work. How is our networks? How is our equipment, etc. Okay. Now, that's running a little smoother. There's always work to do, but it's like, okay, now how do we get these sponsors on? And I know Jason brought it up a number of times, like, hey, Jason, he's hammering it to me, you know, talk about the sponsors. Let's get them up. And so him and I have talked about ways of bringing them into the broadcasts. So it's, yeah, you've nailed it on that one.
Good.
So that should be exciting. Let's see. Next up, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, and if anyone listens to my announcing, I butcher names. Fathia or Fathia Vineyards?
Fathia.
Fatia, okay.
Yeah. So again, that's a local Sonoma vineyard, and they produce. It's a small producer of wines, and it's not a huge sponsor. Again, they just promote us through their network. They have essentially a wine club, I guess, and so they promote their product there. We get recognition through them, and then obviously they provide some product at our awards and things like that.
Oh, okay, perfect. I like that. Wine tasting. So round 1,
Wine
2022,
tasting, yes.
wine tasting.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of wine country motorsports.
Mm-hmm. So Wine Country obviously they've been a supporter of ours for many, many years. So most of the time you'll see a flyer at registration where they'll offer a discount to our races. So they'll have specials. So we try to put those flyers out at the registration, so you can go, get to the track, go to their store, get a discount on it. And then they've also given us, over the years, for our awards, given away helmets, safety, the neck collars, gloves, a lot of product at our awards to try and make that special.
Very cool. Yeah, and for those who don't know, they're right down the hill at the main track.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
right when you drive in.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then last on the list that I have here, actually, there's two. There's one that I don't see that came on middle of the year, but then the last one on the website is Sailing Mamo, boat charters. So many people know Mamo Gidley around the track.
Right.
Most people might not know he's a captain.
That's exactly right. So Mamo is obviously at all our events supporting the races, and that's really his other primary business. So the Sailing Mamo, I guess, connection is more about Mamo's allowing us, I guess, to promote him, because he's extremely well known, not just in racing, but in the sailing world. And one of the things that Mamo does for us, and the reason we brand him as a sponsor, he's out there actively promoting karting, actively promoting our series. We obviously have the Mamo Gidley Award, which is a very, very special award that we give out every year. Mamo comes to the banquets. That award is all about us working with Mamo to find a person in the series that represents what Mamo represents, and most people know, obviously, he worked his way really from a mechanic at Skip Barber all the way to IndyCar. He really had no funding. It was through perseverance, hard work, dedication that Mamo made it to such high levels in motorsports. And here he is, at the kart track still supporting karting. You'll see him almost every week out there driving his kart. So Mamo's contribution to our series in the sport is enormous. And the fact that he wants to make sure we recognize somebody who has that same desire, that same work ethic, that same desire to achieve, I think, success, not just in racing as such, but in the fact that you can work hard to be a great mechanic, a great team owner, a great driver, whatever it may be. That's what Mamo represents, and we're lucky that he supports us in that.
Yeah, no, and that's great, because Mamo, if you're newer into the sport, Mamo's definitely one of our, NorCal rock stars for the reasons you just mentioned. Hard work, perseverance, is a mechanic to an IndyCar driver. I mean, it's
exactly.
And
exactly.
I'm sure anyone that's listening to this podcast that knows Mamo or has known him for a number of years, they could probably all nod their head and go, "Yeah, it's gonna be hard to find anyone that's gonna outwork him, and just have that determination."
Right. Exactly.
And then and he has a boat. You can charter it. He has it parked out
Exactly,
in Sausalito.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mamo actually grew up, and he was actually born on. I don't know if a lot of people don't know, but he was born on a boat in Mexico. So, it's been again, that's part of the journey that he's been through in his life. So he's actually got a great story.
Yeah, his story is pretty cool. And then last but not least, I'm gonna let you round this one out because I'm not gonna get their name right. I think it's Ssi Race Simulators.
Correct, right. So they've actually become an amazing supporter of the series. So they started as a small team. They do race simulation. They're out of the South Bay, and they were training drivers in the simulators. They started doing the karting to I think to take the people that were doing the simulators and put them in the real world of actually driving on track. And so their team has grown dramatically. They started with 1 kart, 2 karts. So this year, as it grew, they were actually just like Gary and Nick and everybody. They realized that by running a local series, they could take drivers who were doing the simulation training, bring them to the track, and use that as again a training tool. So they've part of what they've done is brought a lot of new drivers to our series, and then what they've been offering is we've been picking up someone from each race weekend, and they're giving them 2 hours of training on their race simulator as part of the prize package.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that I kind of like. I mean, it's all the support and all the sponsors. First of all, thank you to the sponsors that have supported Sonoma and Rock Sonoma and Steve's program up there. But I kind of go towards the unique ones. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's like, oh, you can. Maybe it doesn't tie directly to your karting, but it's like, yeah, you win a race or you get picked for this 2 hours on a simulator. It's just it's a new cool experience.
Exactly, yes.
And the simulators nowadays are insane. I mean, it's
right.
insane.
Well, and everybody, it's like anything. It's a skill that needs to be developed. So anybody that runs in motorsports now, particularly anybody that's competitive at the upper echelons, you have to become adept at driving a simulator. It's part and parcel of your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's good stuff there. All right. Do you have any other sponsors you want to drop, or are we good right there?
No, we've got, hopefully we'll have another podcast here. I've got several people that we're talking to as far as new sponsors next year. So, again, I think that, one, the growth of the series, the level of competition, and then the video productions have made it attractive for other people to at least come and talk to us about coming on board, supporting it financially. So I'm optimistic that we'll have some announcements, probably in the next month or so, as to some new sponsors that will come on board.
Fantastic. So I'll real quickly run them down. We have Rock Cup USA, Sanzru Games, and the website for Rock Sonoma is sanzarukarting.com. We have Sunoco Race Fuels, Redline Synthetic Oil, Levanto Kart Tires, World Speed Motorsports, Brook Motorcars, Fatia Vineyards, Wine Country Motorsports, Sailing Mamo Boat Charters, and SSI Race Simulation. Sweet. One of these days I'll actually get good at this announcing thing. One of these days. Hopefully I have a job in 2022.
Yes. I think you're safe.
I'm safe.
Yeah, I think you're safe. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Life goals. Speaking of 2022, let's wrap up the podcast with the schedule for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to read it off, or do you want me to do it?
You can read it off. I've got my calendar here. We can double check that we've got the dates right. So
I'll let you
like
do your calendar.
Yeah. So like anything, I mean, putting the calendar together for our series is definitely challenging, because we're, again, being at Sonoma Raceway, it's we have to work around what the track has for their events, not only on the big track where they have, major race events, they have major promotional events, they've got corporate events. And so it's always challenging to try to get dates. And, we work hard to try and look at other people's schedules, try not to get on top of the local races, obviously, I mean, I think that for us to try to help support the local tracks, help support KPX is important. The last thing we want to do is try to make life difficult for any of those organizations. So I try hard to work with the track to find dates that don't clash. But at the end of the day, we sort of get locked into some limited schedules, and then always try to keep up Mother's Day. That's number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not always possible, I'm afraid. So anyway, we have our first event in March, and we will actually be we're going to put out a press release here probably this week. Obviously, we had our champions, so we're going to try to get a press release out this weekend with our series champions, the dates for next year, and we're also looking at our awards banquet. Right now, just not confirmed, but to keep the date open, it looks like February 5th is when we'll try to have our awards banquet. So that's the first date that we're trying to nail down for next year.
Okay.
And our first race weekend would be the 19th and 20th of March, which is the weekend before Challenge of the Americas. So again, I believe that'll be a big weekend. We'll have a lot of people coming in to prep for Andy's race.
Yeah, that was one of my highlights for 2021, that you and Andy worked together on a number of races, and there's just some great competition on the track.
Right, exactly. Then we moved to April. Looks like 23rd, 24th of April will be our next event. And follow that up. I lost my calendar. Where did I go? You might have to have my May date there, because my one's dropped off my calendar for some reason.
I have May 28th and 29th.
That sounds right.
That sounds right?
Yep.
I kind of just made them up.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, for some reason my calendar went blank. I might have to pull up my emails here. Yeah, so I might have to let you reel those off for me.
All right. So I have, let's see, May 28th and 29th. Then we have June 18th and 19th.
All right. Hang on, I'm doing a little bit of research while we're talking here, just to make sure that you don't give me some bad dates there, because I'm not sure that I trust your... Hold on one second here. So,
all right, I'll buy you a little bit of time. So I know I was talking to Kimberly at the end of 2021 about the season, and she asked for input from the racers. What do the racers want to see for an awards banquet? So if you're a racer and you're listening, what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see a track day? Do you want to see something formal? Do you want to see a barbecue? What would you like to see? That's it. Did I buy you enough time?
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the awards banquet, actually, we looked at that just to kind of go back to that, and the problem again is trying to get a date where the track actually has time available. They have so much growth right now and so much going on. And it's actually a good thing for us, because one of the things that's really boomed at the track right now is their corporate and their karting schools. So corporate karting and the karting schools have just boomed at the track. So a lot of the weekends where we would like to try and say, hey, can we just, let's say on February 5th, can we get, an extra day at the track, and then we'll do our banquet. They may or may not have that available. So it's one of those things where it's probably a good program to have, or a good problem to have, in that they're so busy right now, and they have so much interest in karting from people wanting to go to the schools and wanting to do corporate programs. So we looked at that. We looked at doing a kart day or whatever, and then I think we decided that, given the last year or so where people couldn't get together and couldn't have a dinner and a program, with that sort of changing, and it seems with accounting allowing us to actually have a social event as such, we're going to go back and do something a little more classic with that we've done in the past. We'll do a semi-formal dinner. We'll do the presentation with a dinner. We'll probably go back to the Rooster Run, which has been well received over the years. We'll do obviously a video deal. We'll have prizes, and everybody can get together in a social situation and talk about 21. And then obviously at that point we'll be getting close to only a month away from the first of our 22 races. So I think it'll be a good way to launch the new year.
Nice. So a banquet. Very nice.
We will do a banquet. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have... over the years, it's always been, as I say, we've had, really good numbers. I think the last one we had 140 or 150 people at it, and we gave out, I think, about $25,000 or $30,000 worth of awards. So the goal is to try and come up with something that was obviously pre-COVID. So let's hope that right now that we can do something that gets us back on some normality in that.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of awards, again, I'm pretty good at derailing people on conversations. At every podium presentation that you did in 2021, you gave out the Sanzru bucks.
Right.
So I'm not good enough to be on the podium, so I never got any Sanzru bucks. What are they?
So Sanzru bucks are essentially used by the racers at the next event. So if I give you $75 or $100 of Sanzru bucks, you then can apply that at the next race towards your entry fee, your tires, your fuel. So essentially, we use we give out a code, and you can apply that discount to your cost at the next race.
Nice.
So it's real money. It's a true saving for the guys.
Very good. And again, that's just the importance of having a sponsor on board to help the series, because that money went right back to the racer to reduce entry fees.
Yes. Right, exactly.
Perfect. Let's see. Where do we leave off? Oh, go ahead.
I think you were reading off the dates that I gave you. So, because for whatever reason, my little computer here is not coming up with those dates, and I've only got the one laptop here.
Oh, okay. So you don't have the dates in front of you?
No, unfortunately, they're not coming up. So I'm going to rely on what I sent you.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll recap real quick. We have March 19th.
And
if
it's wrong, then if they're wrong, then I'm just going to blame you.
You'll blame me.
But we will have an email out this week with the dates, just to confirm what you tell them.
Perfect. Let's see. So March 19th and 20th, April 23rd, 24th, May 28th, 29th, June 18th, 19th. Let's see here. And then I think we left off there. So then we have July 30th and 31st. Let's see here. August 20th and the 21st. September 24th and 25th.
And the September date, it will be, as I sort of alluded to, we're hoping that we can put together a much larger promotion in September as part of what we're doing with Rock Cup USA. So September date is an important date because I believe that will turn out to be something that will bring in a huge contingent of races, because we're going to be able to offer some, I think, some real, some much bigger awards that, again, hopefully will be announced shortly. But I think that weekend will be a marquee event.
Okay. Now, why specifically that weekend?
Just the way it falls in the calendar from the races around the rest of the races around the country. And from a lead time standpoint, there's some other events later in the year that if we use that as a marquee event, it opens the window from a price standpoint to offer some other stuff to people.
Okay, perfect. And let's see, then the last date I have is October 15th and 16th.
Right, which will be everybody be prepping for Vegas.
Yeah. And now do you know if that's going to be a doubleheader weekend again?
Yes, it'll be a doubleheader again.
Doubleheader, okay.
Hang on, let me...
Right here. It seemed to drop off the calendar. Your calendar dropped it.
Yeah. So, yes, and then it will be a doubleheader. We sort of, over the years, we've done a few double headers, and it seems, other than when it rains, it's popular. It's a little bit different. We run two configurations, different configurations, Saturday and Sunday. So it's like anything. I think part of what we're trying to do is our schedule's been pretty consistent. The dates have been pretty consistent. So what we're looking to do is try to have something that's consistent every year. So we know within a week or so, every race weekend, you can anticipate that one race every month. And like I say, we've been trying and it's worked over the last year or so. Is trying to say, okay, we're going to have the event before Andy's race. We're going to have something special in September, and we're going to do a double header in October. So. What I've seen in the series that we compete in our race team with IMSA and SRO, they try very, very hard to have some stability in the planning for the series. They try to have key events on the same basis, the same month or the same time period each year. And then if you can build that stability into the series, then people know what to plan for the next year and the year after and the year after. And so that's I think a lot of karting series are not that way. Their schedules jump around, the types of races they have jump around. So from my standpoint, if we can add some consistency every year to you can look forward to the same kind of program each year, that'll help again make it easier for people to commit to the series.
Yeah, up until you said that out loud, I never kind of thought about that. But yeah, you're absolutely right about it. Is an annual. We do this all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the race fans out there, they can tell you when the Indy 500 is.
Right. Yeah. So I think the same thing for us. And we want to know, okay, every March, it's the race that's the first race of the year, and it's right before Challenge Americas. Every September, it's going to be a big promoted event. Every October, it's going to be a double header, and then whatever else we can sort of build into it. And we've now tried to do it where we have 8 events every year. We have a double header. We try to schedule it so that it's about 4 weeks apart from each race, so the guys have got time to do other events. They've got time to financially, you're not stacking races on top of each other. So if you can put something together that's consistent, then people can plan on it.
Yeah, I like that. No, that's cool. Anything else you want to mention for 2022?
No, as I say, I mean, I think it's exciting the changes that the track is doing. I know there's been a lot of conversation recently about um, open practice and what we're getting, what we're not getting at the track. But again, we as a promoter of the race series don't get to control the open track day schedule, but in the conversations I've had in the last week or so, I think that the track itself is motivated to put something together that's going to satisfy the karting community. They're working on the same basis that we are. They're going to try to do something that consistently every month you can count on these days. They know that we need to get some weekends open for people to test on. So I believe in the next week or so, there'll be some schedules coming out from the track. They're going to try to put something that in place that people can count on, that they know every, this Sunday or this Monday or whatever it may be, you can count on that every month for these amount of days on this time frame. So they're working on that right now to try and put that in place so that we can then get that out to all the races. So I know people have been a bit frustrated because nothing's been coming out about schedules, but the track is I certainly don't want to I think people think that maybe as big a corporation, as big a group as they are, that they don't care about the kart races, because they do. They see the value in it. And, they're like everybody, they're trying to juggle schedules between all the other events they have going on, but they are working to give a testing program that will be consistent for the karters.
Nice. Yeah, that would be good news for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, because anytime you have track accessibility, it just makes it easier to promote the sport.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So yeah, I mean, other than that, I think there's a few people that Bill McAllister, who works his butt off to put the series together. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, yourself, Kimberly, that do a lot of work to make this happen. So they probably don't get the thanks they should get for the work they do to try and keep the series going. So again, from my standpoint, just there's a lot of people that Michelle Manning, people like that who come in, Ashley and James Kim. Yep, Ashley Veloz, James Kim, who do a lot of work. Jason obviously doing the videos. Just a lot of people who do this because they want to support the series, want to support the karters. They probably don't get the thanks they really should get. Other than as on the race weekends, when things aren't going well, then they get
all the attention.
They get all the attention they don't want. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and as you say that, that was one thing I kind of taken for granted. As long as I've been around the sport, I've never been behind the scenes in the timing, scoring, announcing, any of that. I've never done any of this before. And that first weekend, I was actually pretty overwhelmed. Not that I had to run my mouth, that comes naturally, but how much stuff was going on in the background, and how busy the ladies are that are doing the timing and scoring. And it's kind of funny because, like, Michelle, she's very quiet, and so she doesn't really interact a lot. And then one day I just kind of sat back to see what she was doing. It's like, what does this person even do? And she keeps everything running. I mean, they're waiting for the live timing. She's running multiple applications to make sure Race Monitor, is working, and all this stuff is going on. And then you get someone coming in. Oh, what about this or what about that? And she's trying to run that and deflect that. And that was really the biggest eye opener probably for me. Of wow, there is really a real production going on behind the scenes that I've always taken it for granted. I just want my Race Monitor to work. I don't care. Make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if people had that same opportunity as you to watch what goes on and see when problems arise, because it's you would think it'd be simple, but it's not. I mean, you have internet issues, you have different problems with the servers not working, or as simple as somebody's out there standing on the timing and scoring loop and messing up the timing and scoring loop. So and then obviously just the registration process. Obviously we've incorporated Kart Pass now, and a lot of people have struggled to make the change from doing their entries on paper to coming to Kart Pass. But we're gonna, if people understood that the amount of work that it saves Ashley and Pete and the guys who are trying to do the accounting, trying to keep up with the Kart Pass, simply signing up and using the Kart Pass entry, it makes the lives of those people so much easier. So we'll continue to push. We'll continue to get people to try and make that change. But I think, as you say, the racer just wants it. They're more concerned about making sure they get there, they get their entry, they go and race. But if they saw how much effort and work goes on behind the scenes to make it all happen, they'd be surprised.
Yeah, it was definitely eye-opening, and I am definitely the first to admit, when I look at Race Monitor, I want it to work, and I don't care. Like, it should just work, and kind of, being next to Michelle and seeing the stuff going on, it's like there's things that are just out of her control, and she's doing the best she can. Okay, we need to get back online, and I could just see people on the grid too. It's like, I've been there. You're on the grid. It's like, hey, everyone's here. Why aren't we going green? What's going on? Everybody's amped up and ready to go. And it's just been a very, very unique perspective that I really treasured having this year. So thank you for letting me announce.
Good. Well, actually, I'm glad you're doing it. And now that you're much more animated, it's much more exciting. So you, as you realize that you can have a race that's not that exciting, but if you've got a commentator that makes it exciting, then that's all you need.
Yeah, and it is helping. Anyway, I'm watching everybody, and I'm getting I'm learning who a lot of the drivers are in classes I've never worked in before. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, and I definitely have a respect for the pros that do it, because it's a lot of work to okay, how do I fill in this moment? We're live on YouTube. They want to hear something.
Right. Yeah. And again, from my standpoint and Kimberly's, I mean, we're thankful for what you do, and I think you've done a great job. I think one of the things, again, I would like to try to do next year is actually get the drivers to get more involved with what we're doing with those videos, to come to talk to you, to get you bios, give you their story. So, because again, like you say, you're looking for things to talk about during that production. So it behooves the drivers to give you information, and it doesn't really matter about whether it's racing, and maybe it's about their life, it's about other interests they have. I think as you get to know the drivers better, and the drivers know that there's a resource here that they can use to help promote themselves, to help build the story for the series, for their careers, whatever, that's something that is available to them.
Yeah, and then for those that just heard that, I actually ended up with a lot of bio sheets, and it was great. If I don't get to your bio the day you give it to me, understand when I go home, I'm reading them. And I work it into the next broadcast, because a lot of times what's going on at the track that day, it just, the first day I did the bio sheets, I said, oh yeah, I'm just going to line them up by class, and I know who they are, and I'm just going to read them as we go. It's like, wait, there's no time for that. It's, but I've been taking them home, and I organize them by class, and I just start reading through the bio sheets, and it's like, there's some cool information on there.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I mean, we had a driver from China, and then one of your regulars, Sarah, I think she's, if I have it right, she's from South Africa. I would
Right.
never have
Yes.
known that without the bio sheet.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's information that you need to help, as I say, build a story. Right.
Exactly. So that's been a lot of fun. But enough about me. I'll let you wrap up the show however you want to.
All right. Well, I think probably the main thing for me is to thank everybody that's helped facilitate putting, the series together, from the sponsors to the races to the teams. We've had a pretty long journey here at the track. We've had our series is growing. We've been able to sustain it. So I'm excited about next year. Excited about rock. Excited about the tire. I think that the video production we've put together, as we grow that's going to bring a whole new audience. So, I think we have great things in the future. Like you, I think we have work to do. I think we need to find ways to get more of the young racers into our series. So we're motivated to do it. The other thing I guess I want to make sure people know that I'm very, very open to input, to feedback. I think everybody knows they can find they just need to go to our website to find my cell phone, to find my email, and I don't filter it. I'm happy to take feedback from people. I would like that. So anybody that wants to reach out to me, give me ideas, tell me what we're doing good, tell me what we're doing bad, I'm open to it. And, what we want to do is try and build a great regional series here. Hopefully we'll have 100 races at the first event, and it'll be an exciting year.
Yeah, actually, that's a very, very good point you just brought up about how to reach you. I think people need to understand, and this isn't just for Steve. This goes to the gentlemen that run the teams, to everything going on at the track. So if you're a new guy and you come up to the track and you're, no one really helped me at the track, please understand, at that moment, you don't know what's going on in their world, whether we have a timing delay, whether there's an accident on the track, whether there's a team principal and they're trying to throw a cart back together. Grab their contact information, contact them that following Monday or Tuesday. Because people get so busy at the track, it's almost a myopic, where people just get so focused on what's right in front of them. So I think that's a great point, Steve.
So the other thing too is, as you know, and you're involved in it, the thing we're really trying to build is more social media. So between what James is doing with the photography, Kimberly is obviously working with you on the social media side of things. So James is working with that. So we want to make sure that people can reach out. I believe that, and if I need to, I'll make sure that their contacts are on the website, or on the Instagram accounts, or on the Facebook page. But they can reach out to Kimberly, to James, to you, and we want to make sure we link as many of the Instagram pages. We're happy to get posts up about the drivers, about the teams, about what they're doing on Facebook. So a big push for next year is to really build that social media side of things. So again, we'll try to make sure that you're accessible, Kimberly's accessible, James is accessible, and we can help people promote themselves, their teams, and the series through those social media outlets.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I don't think people realize how information-starved promoters and tracks are in general. There's so much going on. There's so much great information out there from the drivers and the teams, and a lot of us just want it so we could reshare it.
Exactly.
I mean, it just helps promote the sport, promote yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, and you'll see, and it's interesting when you look at it. It's pretty much the same group of drivers who are out there promoting, what they're doing. And from my perspective, a great example is Preston Lambert. Preston does an awesome job. He's always posting stuff on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He does a great job as a young driver. So Stephen Isaac does a good job. So I would really like, as a series, to be able to help not just the young racers, but anybody that's racing. Jim Kidd does a good job. Get them more access to the media that we can help facilitate. So I think that is one of the big pushes for next year for us.
Huh, maybe you just gave me an idea. Maybe there needs to be like a social media day at the track.
Maybe. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, this is how you do it. This is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry,
I
everybody. I won't lead it because my social media presence is terrible.
Yeah.
Kimberly can attest to that.
Yeah. And those are sort of things we want to hear. If people think that's a good idea, that maybe on the Saturday we put something together that's a seminar with some people that can help teach people how to set up their Instagram accounts, to be able to get their photos out there, to launch that stuff. Then those are sort of things we want to hear. And as you say, maybe it's a good idea that we'll try to facilitate that.
Yeah, and again, it's for the growth of karting. I mean, if it's going to help karting grow, do it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, if that's all you have, I held you up for way too long tonight.
Yeah, no problem. So hopefully I answered all the questions. And as I say, if people have, feel free to reach out to me and give me feedback and let us know what we can do to make it a better experience for everybody.
So to reach Steve, you would go to sanzarukarting.com. Sanzaru is SANZARU karting.com. And then,
That's
you
right.
guys have definitely been stepping it up on Facebook and Instagram as well. So, but
all right.
You're right there on the contacts tab.
All right. Well, like I say, it's been a pleasure, and excited to get through. I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving and a great Christmas, and we'll look forward to the racing in the new year.
Yeah, likewise, and thank you. You're going to be the first official 2022 schedule on the NorCal Karters calendar.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Now we just need the other tracks to chime in and get their dates going.
Yeah, that'd be good to see what they've got going on. In fact, we were Christian was at Davis today, enjoying that track. He was. I'm not sure if I should say it, but he said that was his new favorite track. He thought it was just an amazing facility and really fun to drive. So, I'm a big fan of the local club tracks. I mean, their facilities are, those tracks have produced some amazing talent over the years as well. So let's hope everything works out on their schedules, and I look forward to seeing how they go with their races.
So Davis must have been busy yesterday because you're not the first person I heard going there.
No, I heard it was there was a lot of people there today. I think Mr. White was there today, and a few other people. So it's good for them. It's good news. It's good for the track to see it's being supported still. So
yeah, no, and it's I know you guys spent a lot of time out at Dixon last year. I mean, there's other tracks out there that you get out there and go stay in shape.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter where you race. I mean, we want the people out there karting, and there's a lot of great club tracks around in NorCal. So I really hope that all the karters support them.
Yeah, and then I know Donald Durbin. I was out there today, and I know he's trying to get his 2022 schedule together. And he made it very clear. He goes, "Hey, I need a Sonoma schedule so I don't conflict because." I know Donald's really pushing hard to. You guys share teams,
exactly.
And he wants the teams to be able to go back and forth, and it's like, all right, let's not put stuff on top of each other.
No, yeah, and if like I say, Donald's done a great job. I mean, they've had some really good growth there. It looks like the IKF event they had was a great success. So he's done a really good job of that facility, and if I can help him anyway, then pleased to do that. And it's good to see that Prairie City is strong and doing well.
Yeah, that's The winter is here, right?
Yes.
I love hearing that that Sonoma's not accessible right at this moment, and a number of Sonoma guys have like kind of branched out to hit the valley tracks. That's what I call them, the valley tracks, and it's so neat to hear. It's like, all right.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Well,
there you have it, everybody. That was Steve Cameron with Rock Sonoma, sanzarukarting.com. And thank you again for taking the time to do this. I know you and I have been trying to do it for a couple weeks now.
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad we got it done. So, sorry, I'm getting a hurry up. So, all right, well, take care, Jason, and we'll look forward to your commentary next year.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
All right, have a good night.
Have a good night. And NorCal Carters, there you have it. That was Steve Cameron with Rock Sonoma. And that show went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but what the heck? It was filled with good information. We have a 2022 schedule out. I will have that on the website on NorCal Carters tomorrow. So that will be live tomorrow. But just to recap the schedule for 2022, March 19th and 20th. April 23rd and 24th, May 28th and 29th, June 18th and 19th, July 30th and 31st, August 20th and 21st, September 24th and 25th, and October 15th and 16th. Thank you for listening. If you appreciated what we were doing, share the podcast and like and subscribe to Facebook and YouTube. Thank you very much. Have a great night.